welcome back once again to Beyond English, where we are about to discuss the themes within Ozymandias by Romantic poet Percy Bysshe Shelley. If you haven't yet had the opportunity to watch the first two videos in this series, which discuss an introduction to the poem, the context of it, and analyse the form and structure of it, then please go back, use this as an opportunity to watch them now. Now, when it comes to comparing poems, in order to meet assessment objective 3, it's useful to consider the themes within each of the poems. In this video, I'm going to look at 3 important themes within Ozymandias, and I'm also going to briefly discuss where these themes crop up within other poems from the power and conflict cluster. So firstly, when we think about Shelley's poem and what it wants us to think of or reflect on, we might think about the idea of the legacy of art. And this is the marks that artwork leave behind and that can outlast human life. In the form of the broken pieces of Ozymandias' statue, the poem tells us that art can remain, even as generations of people die out. It's easy for us to imagine this because we see it in our own lives, from the paintings that we observe, the books that we read, the films that we watch. And these are created by people that have since passed away. When an actor performs in the films, they're not usually thinking about their own death and legacy. They're thinking about their life, their purpose, and the message that they want to deliver there and then. It's only once they have died that we use the artwork as a symbol of their life. We get the impression that this is how it was with the statue of Rameses II. When he asked for it to be built, he wasn't thinking about his death and legacy. He was just thinking about his power and how he wanted to present that to people there and then. He wanted people to fear him every time they looked at that statue. However, as we know, the presentation of the poem is extremely ironic. None of that fear remains. His power has virtually faded away, and all that's left is this tiny piece of the artwork within the desert sands, and that it is all that marks the existence of his kingdom. When we try to think of other poems that we might link this to, we might think of poems with similar themes and ideas of lasting artwork and lasting legacies, and this can be seen within Robert Browning's My Last Duchess. The Duchess of the title has passed away, but her legacy remains due to a painting which we know is controlled by the Duke and is hidden away behind a curtain for him to decide who can see it, when, and for how long. But similarly to Ozymandias, there are clues within the artwork about what sort of person the Duchess was. But the clues don't tell us everything, and it's up to the characters in the poem and us as the readers to infer meaning from what is being shown. As in Ozymandias, the artwork has become the subject of abuse. Only in Ozymandias, it is the passage of time that has overpowered the statue, whereas in My Last Duchess, it is the Duke and his tyranny that has the power and control over the artwork. His wife is presented as some sort of trophy, and that completely demeans her legacy. So now moving on to the second theme or idea within the poem, we're going to talk about deluded power and pride within Ozymandias. The poem presents us with this attitude of a tyrannical and narcissistic leader who believes that he is powerful and invincible above everything else. Even the words inscribed on the bottom of the statue make a powerful statement about the insignificance of humanity. People were meant to fear him and look at the statue with despair at his power and superiority. But look where it lies now. The once powerful ruler and the inscription of his name on the statue are now just a mere whisper in the wind, and the crumbling remains that are left now serve as a reminder of the demise of his power and his forgotten glory. You could call Shelley's presentation of the leader and his delusion polemical, which means a written attack. And we already know from last week's video that Shelley saw the poem as an opportunity for a thinly veiled attack at his own monarchy. And it's just this idea that whatever he saw in Ozymandias, he saw the same type of leadership, delusion, and tyrannical power within King George III, who was the ruler at the time. And of course, Shelley also had this particular interest in taking a dig or revealing this idea of failed kingdoms and failed leadership. And this is what he saw within the demise of Ozymandias. But of course, this leads us on nicely to discussing another polemic poem from the power and conflict cluster that would be perfect to compare with Ozymandias. Within the poem London by William Blake, he also makes an attack, and this time it's on the nation's capital. And this exposes the corruption and poverty that was rampant within the city. London is another poem synonymous with the Romantic movement. Blake, like Shelley, intensely disliked what he saw as the oppressive British government of that day. The last theme that I'm going to mention here is the theme of humanity and nature. This is the idea of humans and nature coming into conflict with one another, and this appears in literature time and time again, and Shelley's poem is another perspective on this entirely. His particular angle is that time gives nature the opportunity to overcome humanity. Humans can't possibly outlast nature, so even though Rameses II rules with power and supremacy for a passage of time, he is now just a footnote in history. It's fascinating to think that nature provided him with the tools to be able to construct the statue that now lies in ruins, but given time and opportunity, nature has reclaimed these tools as its own. The power of humans pales into insignificance alongside the natural passage of time. This overarching idea of power in nature, finding no contest in humans, can also be explored in both Wilfred Owen's Exposure, where nature as a deadly force is more of a threat to humans than humanity itself, and Armitage's Storm on the Island, with the unbridled power of nature that shows its ability to instill fear in the lives of the human islanders. Now, as I said, we've just briefly discussed some of the links that you can make between the poems, but later on in this full Power and Conflict series, we will take a greater, more in-depth look at the comparisons and links that can be made between all of the poems. So please look out for that. If you have found this video useful and would like a written form of the information, you can find it on our website, following the link in the video description below. Until next time, keep up the hard work and thanks for watching.